Hello, friends. Welcome to the first episode of Her Rediscovery. I'm Kiana.
And I'm Megan. So let's talk about why we made this podcast. What is her rediscovery?
Right. So, we wanted to open space to have safe, meaningful conversations about what we're learning and what we wish we would have known sooner.
We created this space for women who feel like they're in a transition, whether that's motherhood, marriage, health, purpose, or just growing into a new version of themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So, why now?
Well, we had started talking about doing a podcast together years ago, but it was a far off idea.
Right. And these past few months, we've been talking about it again more and more, and it's just been on both of our hearts.
Yep. And it's felt like the right time for us to bring it to life because we are both in a place in life of growth, transition, and exploration. And this podcast is a way to document this and share it with others who can relate to that energy.
And bonus fun fact 2026 is the year of the horse, the fire horse. It's all about new beginnings, building momentum, taking decisive action. The horse energy is an embodiment of courage, letting passion lead, freedom, authenticity, and alignment, which is so fitting because that's really the driving energy behind what we're doing today.
I didn't know that. That is a fun fact. All right. So next, what does her rediscovery mean to you, Key?
Yeah. To me, her rediscovery is about being a student of life and a lifelong student of life. There's always going to be more to learn. And there's always going to be a deeper understanding of the things that we already know. So we also have this inner knowing of what's true. We can feel it in our hearts. And if you think about it that way, everything that we learn is just a rediscovering of the truth that our soul has always known.
Yeah, I agree. But more deeply with motherhood, most of us tend to feel like we lose sight of ourselves with the daily grind, with all the things that we have to do with and for our kids and significant others, that we lose sight of the woman that we were before children and before marriage, even. So her rediscovery is coming to the realization that the woman you were before is still in there and always will be. And we're just finding ways to bring her to the surface and not be put on the back burner anymore.
Hmm, right. Well said.
Yeah.
So, as a listener, what can you expect from us in this podcast space?
Well, in the future episodes, we're going to be talking about the real stuff. You can expect honest conversations about identity shifts, body changes, marriage dynamics, the dreams that don't go away when you have kids, all of it. The parts that we're proud of, and also the parts that we're also working through ourselves.
Right. And some other topics that we will cover include womanhood, health, wellness, spiritual concepts, and all kinds of interesting things that we're learning about now. Some weeks it'll just be us, and some weeks we'll bring in women who inspire us. And our goal every week is the same. It's to help you reconnect to yourself in the middle of everything you're carrying.
We are not experts in any of these areas. We're figuring this out too. We just want you to feel like you're sitting at the table with us and opening up these topics to conversation.
Yeah, we don't just want to talk about growth. We also want to give you small, doable shifts that you can make and actually implement in your life. Every episode, we will leave you with something tangible to reflect on or apply in your own life. All right. Now, let's introduce ourselves. I am Kiana. I'm 29. I'm turning 30 this year. I am a wife and I am a mom of a beautiful little girl. She's turning 2. And I have worked really closely with kids a lot over the years, and it's been one of the most impactful and educational experience. And it's prepared me really well for motherhood, I think. I like to think. And I am an integrative nutrition health coach. I have a background in anthropology and Pilates. I am really passionate about natural remedies and taking holistic approach, not just to health, but to your whole life. And that's the integrative part of the work that I do. It's looking at all of the different aspects of your life and your health together because it's all an interconnected ecosystem.
For sure. Hi, guys. I am Megan. I am 30. I'll be 31 in June. I am a wife and mom to 4 boys, ages 11, 8, 3, and 7 months. I am a boudoir and motherhood photographer, as well as a certified yoga instructor. My work lives in that space between motherhood and womanhood, where we're all kind of figuring out who we are again. And I care about the body, about slowing down, about creating safe spaces for women to feel seen and understood. And this podcast is part of my own rediscovery. And I am so glad to have Kiana and all of you here with me. So, Kiana, how did we meet?
Okay, so we met in high school in the women's choir. We were practically assigned to be friends by our choir director. I stood right in front of her in our performance order, and our teacher came up to us, introduced us because Megan was dealing with these horrible migraines. And the teacher wanted to make sure that Megan had somebody to lean on, literally, and a shoulder to squeeze if she needed off stage, if she needed to, if she just needed help with anything. So we got closer because of that in high school. And then we had this, time of life where we drifted apart for a while. We were entering into different areas of life. You were entering into motherhood and wifedom. And I was entering into a really toxic relationship.
Mhm.
And, party girl life, just
Yeah.
different areas. But it was when I started entering into the world of children, when I started becoming a nanny.
Mhm.
I think we started talking more. I was in a healthier relationship and I was allowed to have friends again.
Yeah.
Another episode for that. Um,
Yeah.
we got really close when I became a mom, when I got pregnant, and through that whole journey. And I was starting to go through those 10 million little shifts and changes that happen in your life as you're stepping into the hood
Yeah.
of motherhood. And then you helped me through so much of it, and I could now understand a lot more about you and your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happened. I just remember, back in high school, I would have never probably approached Kiana just because she was so intimidating to me. She was just like so gorgeous and so cool, and I am very shy and keep to myself. So I thank you, Miss Arthurton, for introducing us and forcing us to be friends because it has changed both of our lives for the better.
All right, now that you know a little bit more about us, let's get into some deeper questions. Like, let's start here. What point in your life did you feel the most connected to yourself?
Um, I would have to say that after my second son, I went on this very passionate fitness journey. I was getting my yoga certification at the time and going to mommy me yoga and fitness classes. And I had a mom community that I was connecting with online and in person. And I would say that that was the time in my life where I felt most connected to myself. And a lot of the times I catch myself wishing I had that back because having that community And carving out that time to take care of myself was so important for both my physical and my mental health.
Totally.
Yeah.
For me, it was right after I left my ex. I was in college studying anthropology, which is the study of humans and the human experience. Super interesting subject to me and really applicable when working with kids and with clients. But I was in a really toxic relationship for like 5 years, and I totally lost myself in it. So when we broke up, I spent a lot of time intentionally rediscovering who I was and developing friendships and hobbies and studying things in school that I found really interesting. I met my husband during this time, and getting to know him was also a really big part of this healing and discovery process for me.
Yeah.
When did you feel most disconnected from yourself?
Honestly, I'd have to say, in the 12 years of motherhood that I have on my belt, um, there has been multiple times when I've felt disconnected from myself. But to narrow it down, I tend to feel disconnected from myself when I am within the 6 month postpartum range, which is actually very, very recent for me. And which for me has been in conjunction with not working and also not feeling creative or motivated to have something for myself.
Same. Honestly, the 6 month postpartum point, I really started to lose sight of who I was. And especially with my husband going back to work and saying yes to friends and family and making plans without me, leaving me at home with the baby. Um, looking back, I think the more disconnected I felt from myself, the harder it was to feel connected to my partner.
Yeah. And what triggered the shift back to yourself?
Right. The shift back into myself after, that time was really a leap of desperation because I was so sick of being miserable all the time and not really knowing why. But talking to you about it, talking to other mom friends about what was happening, what I was going through really validated my experience, and the friendships really helped me feel like a person again. What about you? What triggered your shift back into yourself?
It's easier said than done, but creativity sparks and having something specific to look forward to, i.e., this podcast right now. Um, but it gives me an incentive of motivation. And for example, also is having a set goal to like meet a certain weight by the time your friend's wedding rolls around, or even being more motivated would be to be planning my pregnancies, knowing that I wanted to be comfortable in my own skin by the time that I got pregnant. It was just what kept me going.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. So, Megan, what are you rediscovering right now?
Right now, I think I am rediscovering parts of me that I know have always been there since motherhood and before. And that doesn't define me as a mom, but defines me as me. Like my artistic side, I really enjoy digital design and content creation. So, starting my Embodied Mama yoga page has been strengthening this part of me. Um, I also get to be creative when I'm photographing clients, staging the photos, and just being in flow with them. And with this, I also get to explore and strengthen the part of me that loves to empower other women and build confidence around self worth and body image in a tangible way. Um, and using these parts of me to create helps me tap into my feminine energy. And that for me is much needed since I am so very tapped into my masculine energy to just organize and execute all the chores, tasks, and activities my kids are involved in. Whereas my feminine energy is healed by giving myself the time and space to be me. And healing my feminine side is even helping me become a softer, gentler mom in the chaos of raising 4 boys. What about you, Key? What are you rediscovering right now?
Well, that was beautiful.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
okay, so lately I have been diving into my relationship with spirit, with God, with Jesus. I was raised in the Catholic Church, and my experience there was all about strict rules and following this really narrow line, this really specific orders of being worthy to get into heaven. And as I got older and started questioning things, started experiencing more of the world outside of the church, I completely rejected religion as a whole. And it wasn't until college, when I was starting to study religions and spiritual beliefs across different cultures around the world, did I start reconnecting with God. And this journey's been on and off for years. My husband, too, was wanting to find a good church that feels right for us. And we found one. And going as a family, it's been a great experience. And just reconnecting with spirit has been revealing deeper parts of my own identity, and it's been really interesting and deeply healing and even empowering. And I've been getting crazy about my prayer life lately because I want to learn how to really listen so that I can hear God when he's speaking into my life. And so that I don't feel like I have to have everything figured out all by myself, all on my own. And this is actually something that's bugged me for so many years because when I hear that little voice in the back of my head telling me to do this or don't do that, I don't listen to it. I'm like, oh, what's the worst can happen if I don't listen to it? And then I find out the worst that can happen. And then I kick myself because it would have saved me all the time, all the energy or whatever if I had just listened to that intuition from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel you on having that little voice in your head and wishing you would have listened to it because it's telling you not to do something, but you do it anyway. And you feel awful afterwards.
Absolutely. And that's a great time to practice giving yourself grace.
Yes, but sometimes giving myself grace becomes an excuse to not do something else or to try again.
Yeah, I feel that too. I think it becomes a bit of a fine line to walk, but I think the key here is that grace is needed when you make mistakes because you're taking actions. It doesn't apply to giving up. It doesn't apply to not trying at all.
Right. Yeah, you can only have grace with yourself as long as you keep moving forward and learn from whatever the mistake was and applying it better the next time.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Now that we're coming to the end of the episode, Key, what is one small way a woman listening could begin her own rediscovery this week?
That is a great question. And my answer, I will say, is simple, but that doesn't necessarily make it easy. One small thing that we can do this week is to cut out the noise so that you have room to actually think. Personally, I've been working on cutting back on the distractions, the entertainment that I've learned to fill my moments of free time with. Giving yourself the time and the space to really think, and I mean really think about everything that's going on around you in your life, what's important, what are you aiming towards? It's it's one tool that is just really simple and really powerful.
Yeah. I can understand why you say it's simple but not easy because we all tend to fill any free time we can find with some sort of noise or distraction, and it's a habit you don't even think twice about. How often do we really even sit with our thoughts anymore?
Exactly. And in order to truly understand ourselves, we need to learn first how to spend time with ourselves.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Her Rediscovery.
If today's episode spoke to you, share it with a woman who needs to feel seen.
And take one small step this week towards the woman you're becoming.
She was never lost.
She was just waiting to be rediscovered. We'll
We'll see
see you
you
next week.